Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping right in today, getting you fully prepped for the big Week 1 CFL clash. Saskatchewan Roughriders taking on the Ottawa Redblacks.
Yeah, and this isn't just your average preview. We're going deep narratives, players to watch, what you really need to know before that June 6th kickoff. That's 7:00 a.m. Eastern time, by the way.
Exactly. We've sifted through, well, a ton of expert analysis, performance, off-season stuff, betting odds, tactics.
Even fantasy implications. Basically, we're giving you the shortcut to sounding like you actually know what you're talking about for this game.
Right, because this Week 1 game, it's at Mosaic Stadium in Regina.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to tell us a lot right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
How did those off-season changes actually pan out?
What are the big questions? How different do these teams look? What's the early buzz, the expectations?
And that's what we're here for, to help you get up to speed fast, focus on what really matters. We'll pull out the key stuff.
So you can jump into those conversations confidently. Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, the basics again. June 6th, 2025, 7:00 a.m. Eastern. Mosaic Stadium, Regina. It's a big one. TSN in Canada, ESPN Plus for international viewers.
High stakes right away. And both teams, like you said, have made some pretty significant roster tweaks.
Let's start with Saskatchewan. They finished 9-9 in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Decent, but they clearly want more this year.
Mm-hmm. The talk is about a strong start. They really invested in that offensive line, brought in a new defensive coordinator, too. Seems like they're serious about contending.
And key guys to watch for the Riders. Well, obviously, Trevor Harris at QB, veteran guy, needs to lead.
Yep. And Jamal Morrow, the running back, he can be electric. Then on D, Pete Robertson. He's the anchor on that line, brings the pressure.
Okay, flip side, Ottawa. They definitely struggled more in 2024.
Yeah, but the narrative around them is interesting. Bold moves in free agency, a new look offense, new coaching staff. They're aiming to surprise people, I think.
Feels like a potential turning point. Maybe. They're key guys. Well, Jeremiah Masoli at QB is the big one, if he's healthy.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We'll definitely circle back to that. But if he is right, he's a difference maker.
And Jalon Acklin, the receiver, serious deep threat. Avery Williams at linebacker, kind of the heart of that defense.
Yeah, and the history between these two? It adds a bit of spice, doesn't it? Since Ottawa came back in 2014, these games can get pretty wild.
Oh, yeah. Definitely some drama.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, 2024, Sask won 27-21. Harris had 3 TD passes in that one.
But rewind to 2023, Ottawa won that one 31-28 in OT. Masoli went off like over 400 yards passing.
Crazy game. And 2022, Sask won again, 23-17. But the story there was their defense. 5 sacks. Just relentless.
And here's a little nugget from the sources. It seems the home team has covered the spread in 7 of the last 10 meetings between these guys.
Right, covering the spread, meaning they either won by more than the odds predicted or lost by less, basically.
Exactly. So with this game being in Regina, maybe something to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay, now the really fun part.
Yeah.
The 2025 rosters. Let's talk Saskatchewan first. People are actually whispering, Grey Cup contenders.
That's the buzz, yeah. And you look at their moves, signing Micah Johnson, the all-star DT from Calgary, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. And they've got this rookie receiver, Terrell Jana, people are excited about. They did lose Nick Marshall, the corner, back to the NFL, though.
True, that's a notable departure, but their core strengths from last year, remember they had the number 2 rush offense, like 122 yards a game. And their D was number 3 overall. Pretty solid foundation.
So the X factor for them, really, it seems to be how quickly Trevor Harris clicks with the new OC, Kelly Jeffrey.
Absolutely. If that chemistry develops fast, that offense could be really dangerous.
All right, shifting to Ottawa. The conversation there is less instant contender, more. Have they finally finished the rebuild? Is this the payoff?
That's the hope for them, for sure. They made some big franchise-altering changes. New head coach Mike Jones came over from Toronto, where he was the OC.
And player-wise, big names. Kenny Lawler, the receiver from Winnipeg, huge get. And they drafted linebacker Jordan Reeves in the first round.
Looks like they targeted their weaknesses, too. The O-line, supposedly improved with 3 new starters, added another deep threat in Darrell Walker.
But it all comes back to Masoli, doesn't it? His health. That shoulder surgery in 2024.
It really is the make or break thing for them, you feel. Can he stay on the field starting week 1? Everything kind of hinges on that.
Okay, let's pivot to the betting side. What are the markets telling us? As of June 5th, we're seeing some movement.
Yeah, so the money line, just picking the winner, Sask, opened around Nekich 130 favorite. Now they're closer to negative 145. Suggests some sharp money likes the Riders.
Sharp money meaning the experienced bettors.
Right.
The ones who move the lines.
Generally, yeah. And the spread, the margin of victory went from Sask negative 2.5 up to negative 3.5. And apparently, like 72% of the bets are on Saskatchewan to beat that number.
Interesting, though, the total points, the over-under that's dropped, started at 50.5, now it's down to 48.5. So people expecting maybe a tighter, lower-scoring game.
Seems that way. Maybe expecting defenses to be a bit ahead of the offenses early in the season, which, often happens.
So where are the betting experts finding potential value? What are the quote-unquote smart plays?
Well, one idea floating around is the first half under 24.5 points at Negno 115 odds. These teams sometimes start slow.
Yep, what else?
Sask team total over 23.5 points at Nagano 110. The thinking is Harris might be able to exploit Ottawa's secondary. And for an anytime TD score, Jamal Morrow at plus 150. Apparently, the Redblacks struggled covering running backs catching passes last year.
That leads into the prop bets, right? Like specific things happening in the game.
Exactly. Some interesting ones highlighted. First score type. Maybe a Sask field goal, that's plus 300. First TD score, Kian Schaffer-Baker for the Riders, that's longer odds, plus 650.
Ooh, ambitious.
Yeah. Or even just, will there be a defensive TD scored? Yes is at plus 450 if you expect some early season sloppiness or big defensive plays.
Okay, let's get tactical. Based on film study and analysis, how does Saskatchewan win this game? What's their path?
Seems pretty clear. Establish a run early, get Morrow going. That forces Ottawa's hand defensively, opens things up for Harris.
Right, control the clock, wear them down.
Yeah. And defensively, maybe double-team Avery Williams, try to neutralize Ottawa's best pass rusher. Maybe use press coverage against their receivers to disrupt timing.
Makes sense. So for Ottawa to pull off the upset on the road, what's their formula?
Could be about protection first. Max protect schemes to give Masoli time against that rider rush, keep him upright.
Crucial, yeah.
Maybe use tempo, speed things up, try to catch Sask off balance, prevent substitutions. And with a new coach like Mike Jones, expect the unexpected. Maybe some trick plays thrown in.
Always fun to watch for those.
Yeah.
Now, Regina, early June, weather. Got to factor that in.
Yep. Forecast is showing about a 12-kilometer crosswind northwest. Not gale force, but maybe enough to affect the really deep passes or, say, field goals over 45 yards. Something to watch.
And the field itself. New turf at Mosaic.
All right, next-gen turf. Supposedly favors speed. Could be good for quick receivers on shorter routes, running backs making sharp cuts.
Okay, connecting all this fantasy football time, who should you maybe start? Who should you sit this week?
Well, Trevor Harris looks like a pretty solid start for Sask. Projections are like 275-plus yards, maybe 2 TDs. Decent floor.
And for Ottawa?
Kenny Lawler, especially in PPR leagues, points per reception. If Sask plays softer zones, he could rack up catches. He's that kind of target hog.
Okay, so who are the riskier plays? Who are you maybe benching?
Ottawa's running back, William Powell. Tough matchup against that Rider Run D, ranked #2 last year. Could be hard sledding.
Yeah, probably best to wait and see there.
And maybe Sask's kicker, Brett Lawther. Just with that potential win making longer kicks a bit dicey. Might limit his upside a little.
All right, prediction time. The moment of truth. What's the final score going to be?
Crunching the numbers, going through the analysis. The projection lands on Saskatchewan winning 26-20.
That's 26, Ottawa 20, okay.
Yeah.
Any key moments you foresee?
Yeah.
How does the game script maybe play out?
I could see Sask's defense maybe forcing a turnover early, maybe on Ottawa's first drive. Sets the tone.
Yeah, that'd be big for the home crowd.
Then maybe Ottawa claws back, keeps it close, maybe even ties it before halftime. But ultimately, thinking Harris finds a way, maybe a game-winning TD pass late in the fourth quarter.
Sounds plausible. And if you were betting, what are the top recommendations based on that prediction?
Well, aligning with that, the Sask's 3.5 spread at Nagus 110 looks like the main play, a solid 2-unit type bet.
Right.
For value, maybe that. Under 48.5 total points at Nagus 115 still looks good, matching the lower score prediction. And a real long shot, correct score. Sask 27-21. That pays around plus 1,800 if you're feeling lucky. A bit different from the 26-20, but in the ballpark.
Right. Just to quickly hammer home those main odds again. Riders are moneyline phase at Negus 150, Redblacks plus 130 dogs. Spread is Sask made as 3.5, total 48.5.
And the consensus seems to be Riders win, but maybe Ottawa keeps it close enough to cover that plus 3.5. So best bets often highlighted are Sask ML and the under.
And those key matchups we talked about. They're worth watching closely, right?
Absolutely. Harris versus that Ottawa secondary experience versus youth. The Redblacks O-line trying to handle the Riders' pass rush, huge for Masoli. And special teams could easily swing a close game. Field position, returns, Can't overlook it.
And the weather, just to confirm, sounds pretty good for football.
Yeah.
Mid-teen Celsius, light wind.
Yeah, around 15 degrees C, 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Pretty ideal, really. Shouldn't hamper the passing game much, aside from maybe those really long throws potentially affected by the crosswind.
Okay, so wrapping it up, this Week 1 game feels like a really important early measuring stick.
Definitely. Saskatchewan looks like the safer bet on paper, more established at home. But Ottawa, all those changes make them a real wild card. Potential for an upset is definitely there if things click for them quickly.
So for you listening, the big takeaway, Riders are favored, more stable team, home field, big advantages.
But don't sleep on the Redblacks. That off-season overhaul means they could surprise. The betting lines are hinting at a close game anyway.
And those battles in the trenches, O-line versus D-line, and how those secondaries hold up, that's probably where the game is won or lost.
Exactly. So hopefully you've now got a much deeper feel for this matchup than just the headlines. You know the key players, the potential strategies, maybe even a few betting angles to think about.
Right. So here's something to chew on after this deep dive. Forget our prediction for a sec. Which one player, just one, do you think has the most potential to swing this game? And why them specifically?
Ooh, good question. And thinking bigger picture, what does a Week 1 win actually mean for the rest of the season for either Saskatchewan or Ottawa? How much momentum does it create, or how much pressure does a loss add?
Lots to think about. Definitely gets the CFL season started with a bang.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.